Thora pressed her back against the crumbling concrete wall, her breath fogging the filtered mask that kept her alive in Earth's toxic atmosphere. The ruins of Chicago stretched endlessly before her, a graveyard of shattered skyscrapers and broken dreams. 3 years had passed since the Meridian ships appeared in Earth's orbit, unleashing devastating biological weapons that transformed the planet into a wasteland. She adjusted her scavenging pack, checking the radiation counter strapped to her wrist. The numbers flashed an angry red. She had 20 minutes before needing to return to the underground bunker. Movement caught her eye, a shimmer in the air, like heat waves on a summer day. But this was no natural phenomenon. The shimmer materialized into a tall, crystalline being, a meridian. Its translucent body pulsed with internal light, and multiple eyes studied her with scientific curiosity rather than hostility. Thora's finger tightened on her pulse rifle's trigger. "Please," the creature spoke in perfect English, its voice resonating like wind through glass. "I mean no harm. I am Zen, a researcher. I've been searching for surviving humans." Thora barked a harsh laugh. "Finished what you started. Coming to collect samples from the last of us." "No." Zen's crystalline form dimmed slightly. "I'm here because my people made a terrible mistake. The weapons they used, they didn't understand the full consequences. The chain reaction is spreading through space itself. Other worlds are beginning to show signs of contamination." Thora lowered her weapon slightly, curiosity warring with caution. "Why tell me this?" "Because you're a survivor. You've adapted to conditions that should have been impossible. And because I believe humans possess something my people lack. The ability to face extinction and still find hope." The radiation counter beeped insistently. Thora glanced at the darkening sky, where strange auroras danced with increasing frequency. "Talk fast. Either I shoot you, or we both need to get underground before the next radiation wave hits." Zen's form pulsed with urgency. The weapon was designed to target specific genetic markers. But it's mutating, becoming something we can't control. My people are dying too, their crystalline forms shattering from within. We need human resilience, human adaptability. Without cooperation between our species, both will perish. Thunder rumbled overhead, but it wasn't natural weather. The aurora was intensifying, casting sickly green light across the ruins. Thora made a decision that would alter the fate of 2 species. "There's a bunker entrance half a kilometer south. If you're lying, you'll die first. If you're telling the truth." She let the sentence hang. "Then perhaps both our peoples have a chance," Zen finished. They moved through the ruins together. An unlikely pair, human and Meridian, survivor and scientist. As they descended into the reinforced bunker, Thora couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just survival. It was the beginning of something unprecedented. The bunker's airlock hissed shut behind them, just as the radiation wave hit, rattling the steel doors. In the artificial light, Zen's crystalline form cast prismatic patterns across the walls. Other survivors emerged from their quarters, weapons raised, faces masked with a mixture of fear and fascination. "Everyone stay calm," Thor announced, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "We're about to learn why Earth really died. And maybe, just maybe, how to bring it back to life." The survivors lowered their weapons slowly, their expressions shifting from hostility to cautious hope. In that underground sanctuary, as Zen began to share the terrible truth about the weapon that had changed everything, Thor realized that sometimes the unthinkable choice, trusting your enemy, might be the only choice left. Above them, the poisoned sky continued its eerie dance, oblivious to the alliance forming beneath the ruins of civilization. An alliance that would either save 2 species or witness their final extinction. Deep within the bunker's makeshift laboratory, Thora watched Zen examine blood samples through equipment that seemed to defy human understanding. The Meridian's crystalline fingers moved with surprising delicacy across holographic displays, each touch sending ripples of light through the air. "Your genetic adaptations are remarkable," Zen observed, multifaceted eyes reflecting streams of data. While others succumbed to the weapon's effects, your body began producing proteins that neutralized the toxins. Not everyone was so lucky, Thora replied, unconsciously touching the worn photo in her pocket, the last image of her family. How many survivors are there worldwide? Our scans detect approximately 3,000 humans in various shelters. But your group here in Chicago shows the highest concentration of adaptive mutations. The bunker's warning system suddenly blared to life. Thora rushed to the security monitors, Zen flowing beside her like living mercury. On the screens, a massive shape descended through the toxic clouds, a Meridian ship, but unlike any Thora had seen during the initial invasion. That vessel belongs to the Resistance, Zen explained, crystal form flickering with agitation. Not all my people supported the attack on Earth. They've been fighting against the military leadership, trying to prevent them from using the weapon on other worlds. The ship landed amid the ruins, its crystalline surface absorbing and refracting the aurora's sickly light. A delegation emerged, more Meridians, but their forms were scared and fractured, showing signs of the same degradation Zen had described. Through the bunker's external cameras, Thora watched the new arrivals survey the area with obvious urgency. They're looking for you, aren't they? For both of us, Zen corrected. The military council knows I've discovered something in human genetics that could stop the weapon. They'll want to destroy that knowledge and anyone who possesses it. The bunker's residents gathered in the main chamber, their faces a mixture of fear and determination. They'd survived the end of their world. They wouldn't surrender hope now. We need to evacuate, Thora announced, her voice carrying the weight of command. The Resistance ship can transport us to their hidden base in the asteroid belt. We'll have better equipment there, a chance to develop a cure. And if we stay? Someone asked. Then we die, Zen stated simply. The military council will sterilize this entire region to eliminate any trace of the adaptive genetics. The evacuation began immediately, years of survival drills paying off as the bunker's residents moved with practiced efficiency. Thora coordinated with the Meridian Resistance through Zen, establishing a safe corridor to the ship. As they prepared to leave, Thora took one last look at the bunker's main screen. More ships were appearing in the upper atmosphere, military vessels, their crystalline hulls glowing with weapon signatures. They're here sooner than expected, Zen observed grimly. The Council must have been tracking my movements all along. The Resistance ship's interior was a disorienting blend of organic crystal and advanced technology. As the last survivors boarded, the vessel's defense systems engaged, creating a shimmering barrier against the first waves of military attacks. Thora stood at a viewport, watching energy beams slice through the toxic clouds. Behind her, humans and Meridians worked together, securing equipment and preparing for emergency maneuvers. The sight would have been unthinkable just days ago. The barrier won't hold long, Zen warned, joining her at the viewport. But perhaps it doesn't need to. Look. Through the chaos of battle, Thora saw what the Meridian meant. The military ship's attacks were becoming erratic, their crystalline hulls showing signs of the same degradation that afflicted their crews. The weapon's mutation was accelerating. They're dying, Thora whispered, just like Earth did. Yes, but together, we might still find a way to reverse it. Your adaptation could be the key to saving both our species. The Resistance ship broke free of Earth's atmosphere, accelerating toward the asteroid belt. Behind them, the Aurora continued its deadly dance over a poisoned world. But for the first time since the invasion, Thora felt something she'd almost forgotten: hope. In the ship's medical bay, human survivors and Meridian scientists began the delicate work of understanding their shared salvation. The weapon had meant to end humanity. Instead, it had forced two species to find strength in their differences, to forge an alliance in the shadow of extinction. The Resistance base carved into the asteroid's heart hummed with activity. 3 weeks had passed since their escape from Earth, and Thora found herself struggling to process the truth that Zen and the other scientists had uncovered in their genetic research. "Show me again," she demanded, staring at the holographic display floating between them. The three-dimensional image showed strands of DNA, human and meridian genetic codes intertwined in impossible patterns. The weapon wasn't designed to destroy humanity, Zen explained, manipulating the display with precise movements. It was designed to transform us, both species. The military council knew about the coming stellar event, a massive radiation wave that would sterilize both our worlds. They sought to force evolution. The laboratory around them buzzed with activity as human and meridian scientists worked together, their shared purpose bridging ancient divides. But Thora noticed the increasing signs of strain among the meridians, microfractures spreading through their crystalline forms like spider webs. "How long?" she asked, watching another meridian researcher pause to stabilize their deteriorating structure. "Without a solution, 2 months, perhaps less. The forced evolution is too rapid, too unstable. But your adaptive mutation, it's providing a blueprint for controlled change." A commotion at the laboratory entrance drew their attention. Rena, one of the resistance leaders, burst in, her crystalline form flickering with urgency. "We've intercepted a military transmission. They're mobilizing the entire fleet. They know where we are." Thora's blood ran cold. "How?" "The base is shielded." "Betrayal." Rena's voice resonated with anger. "Someone within the resistance has been feeding them information. But that's not the worst part. The Council, they're preparing to trigger a second wave of the weapon. They believe they can control the evolution this time." The implications hit Thora like a physical blow. "They'll kill everyone, even their own people. Unless we stop them," Zen interjected, bringing up new data streams. "Look at this. The weapon's delivery system requires a specific resonance frequency to activate. If we can disrupt that frequency, we can neutralize it." Thora finished, her mind racing. "But we'd need to get close to their command ship, really close." The base's alert system suddenly screamed to life. On the monitoring screens, multiple signatures appeared. The military fleet had arrived sooner than expected. The resistance base's shields flared as the first salvos struck. "We need to evacuate," Rena commanded, already coordinating defense measures. "Get the research data. Everything we've learned about the adaptive genetics. We can't let them destroy it." But as they rushed to secure their findings, Thora noticed something odd in the attack pattern. The military ships weren't trying to destroy the base. They were hurting them, forcing them toward a specific vector. "Wait," she called out, studying the tactical display. "This isn't just an attack. They're shepherding us toward that stellar radiation wave they mentioned. They want us to be exposed." Zen's form pulsed with realization. "Of course. They're not trying to stop our research. They want to use us as a test case, to see if the combined genetics can withstand the radiation." The resistance ships launched, carrying their precious cargo of survivors and research data. As they maneuvered through the asteroid field, Thora watched the military vessels maintain their bizarre dance, always pushing them toward that unseen threat. "We need options," she announced to the bridge crew. "A mix of humans and meridians working in perfect synchronization. We can't run forever, and we can't let them force us into that radiation wave." "Perhaps," Zen suggested, interfacing with the ship systems. "We don't run. The Council believes they can control evolution, but what if we show them what true adaptation looks like?" Thora understood the implications. It was risky, possibly suicidal, but it might be their only chance. They would need to turn and fight, to get close enough to the command ship to disrupt the weapon's frequency. And they would need to do it before the radiation wave arrived. As the resistance fleet regrouped for their desperate gambit, Thora looked at her unlikely allies, humans and meridians, former enemies united by the discovery of a terrible truth. Whatever happened next would determine not just their survival, but the very course of their evolution. The command ship loomed ahead, its crystalline surface reflecting the light of distant stars. Somewhere aboard that vessel were the architects of this grand and terrible experiment. It was time to show them that true adaptation couldn't be forced. It had to be earned through cooperation, through understanding, through the willingness to change. The Resistance fleet's engines burned hot against the void as they pursued their daring plan. Thora stood at the tactical station, watching the massive crystalline form of the Meridian command ship grow larger on their view screen. Beside her, Zen's form pulsed with increasing instability. The degradation was accelerating. "The frequency disruptor is ready," a human technician announced from her station. "But we'll need to get within 5 kilometers of their hull for it to work." Through the viewports, Thora could see other Meridian resistance ships showing signs of structural damage, their once perfect crystalline surfaces now webbed with fractures. Time was running out for both species. "Enemy ships moving to intercept," Rena reported, her own form flickering dangerously. "They've realized our intent." The battle erupted in silence, energy beams cutting through space like lightning. The resistance ships moved in complex patterns, drawing fire away from their flagship as it pushed toward its target. But something was wrong. The military vessels were too predictable, almost mechanical in their responses. Their crews, Zen suddenly realized, interfacing with the sensors. "The ships are automated. The Council has abandoned them." A new alert blared through the ship. On the long-range sensors, a massive disturbance appeared. The radiation wave, approaching faster than their calculations had predicted. The Council had known it was coming, had planned for this moment. "All ships, maximum thrust," Thora commanded. "We won't get another chance at this." Their vessel shuddered under enemy fire, shields failing section by section. In the medical bay, human doctors worked desperately to stabilize their Meridian allies as the degradation accelerated. The combined stress of battle and proximity to the radiation wave was pushing both species to their breaking point. Then came the betrayal. One of their own ships suddenly turned, its weapons firing point-blank into the flagship's engines. On the bridge, chaos erupted as systems failed and emergency force fields snapped into place. "It's Varen," Rena identified the traitor, her voice heavy with despair. "He was Council all along. He's transmitted our research data to the command ship." The military vessels pressed their advantage, herding the damaged resistance fleet directly toward the approaching radiation wave. On the flagship's bridge, emergency lighting cast everything in a blood-red glow as Thora fought to keep their mission alive. "Reroute all power to forward shields," she ordered. "We can still make it to the command ship." "Thora," Zen's voice was barely a whisper, their form now more fracture than solid crystal. "The degradation. It's not just killing us. It's changing us. Look." On the medical bay feeds, something extraordinary was happening. Where the Meridian's crystalline forms were breaking down, new patterns were emerging. Hybrid structures that somehow incorporated both crystalline and organic elements. The human survivors' blood samples showed similar changes, their adaptive mutations accelerating. "The Council was right about one thing," Zen continued. "Evolution was inevitable. But they tried to control it, to force it into their chosen path. They didn't understand that true adaptation requires cooperation." Thora finished. "The willingness to change together." A plan formed in her mind, desperate, possibly suicidal, but their only remaining option. They couldn't stop the radiation wave, couldn't prevent the changes it would bring. But perhaps they could embrace those changes on their own terms. "All hands," she broadcast to both the flagship and the remaining resistance vessels. "Prepare for emergency proximity transfer. We're going to give the Council exactly what they wanted, just not how they wanted it." Understanding dawned in Zen's fractured features. "You want to trigger the weapon ourselves. Not to force evolution," Thora explained, already programming the necessary commands, "but to share our adaptive mutations with everyone, military and resistance alike. No one left behind. No one forced to change alone." The command ship loomed before them, its crystalline surface reflecting the approaching radiation wave like a terrible dawn. In its shadow, Thora and her allies prepared to take their final stand, not just for survival, but for the right to choose how they would face the future that awaited them all. The flagship's hull groaned under the strain as they pushed through the military blockade. Thora's hands flew across the tactical controls while Zen interfaced directly with the ship's systems, their partly transformed body bridging the gap between organic and crystalline technology. Broadcasting the adaptive genetic sequence now, Zen announced, their voice resonating with new harmonics. If enough ships receive it before the radiation wave hits, the command ship's weapons blazed, trying to stop what they couldn't understand. But it was already too late. The genetic signal pulsed outward, carrying with it humanity's gift for adaptation and the Meridian's capacity for transformation. Through the viewscreen, Thora watched in awe as the change began. Ships on both sides started to shimmer, their crystalline structures flowing like liquid metal. Inside them, crews both military and resistance experienced the same metamorphosis that had begun in the Resistance flagship. "They're trying to shut down the transmission," Rena warned, fighting to maintain their position. The command ship's energy signature was building to dangerous levels as the Council attempted to reassert control. "Let them try," Thora said, watching their sensor readings. "They can't stop evolution. They can only choose whether to embrace it." The radiation wave loomed closer, its leading edge already touching the outer ships of both fleets. But instead of destruction, it brought transformation. Where the Council had sought to force a specific path of evolution, the combined adaptive genetics allowed each individual to change in their own way. Some Meridians developed organic components while maintaining their crystalline core. Others found their consciousness could flow between crystalline and biological forms at will. Humans developed crystalline elements in their cellular structure, enhancing their resilience while maintaining their adaptability. On the command ship's bridge, the Council watched in horror as their carefully calculated plans dissolved into something far more remarkable: genuine cooperation between species, each changing and growing stronger together. "Signal from the command ship," Zen reported, surprise evident in their transformed features. "They're standing down." The radiation wave passed through the assembled fleets like a cleansing fire, but where it should have brought death, it instead catalyzed the changes already underway. When it cleared, the survivors emerged not as conquerors or conquered, but as something entirely new. 1 month later, Thora stood on the surface of Earth, breathing its air without a mask for the first time since the invasion. The adaptive genetics hadn't just transformed their bodies, it had given them the ability to heal their wounded worlds. Around her, the ruins of Chicago were slowly coming back to life. Hybrid plants, part crystal and part organic, grew among the rubble. The toxic atmosphere was being processed by enormous crystalline structures that had once been military ships, now repurposed as environmental purifiers. The Council's greatest fear was losing control, Zen observed, their form shifting fluidly between crystalline and organic states as they worked to stabilize a new growth matrix. They never understood that true strength comes from embracing change, not controlling it. Thora watched as more ships arrived in orbit, rescue vessels beginning the long process of recovering Earth's scattered survivors. But these weren't just human refugees returning home. Meridians had come as well, bringing with them the knowledge and technology to restore what their weapons had destroyed. "We thought we were fighting for survival," Thora said, touching one of the crystal organic hybrid plants. "But we were really fighting for the right to choose our own path forward." Both our species needed to learn that lesson. The aurora still danced in Earth's sky, but its light was different now, healing rather than harmful. As Thora and Zen continued their work, more transformed humans and Meridians joined them, each unique in their adaptation but united in their purpose. They had faced extinction and emerged stronger, not through force, not through control, but through the simple courage to reach across the divide and trust in each other's capacity for change. In the end, that had made all the difference.